Hello, everyone. Just making sure everything is set up how it's supposed to. So you can see me everywhere. Okay, we should be live on Instagram now and everywhere else. If you can see me, let me know in the comments. My name is Coach Stephanie. The Conways were unable to join today and do the live, so I am filling in. I am one of the coaches for the member meetings. Hey, Joy. Perfect. I can see you. One of the coaches for the member meetings. And today I want to talk to you about whether or not you are on the right plan. And when I say the right plan, I always mean the right plan for you and your circumstances. As you all know, there is no one universal correct plan. There is no one size fits all in this journey. You have to find something that works for you. But it can be really, really overwhelming either when you're starting or when you're having issues to figure out which plan might be the right one. And I know the Conways did a whole series kind of going through the different plans. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time kind of going through that again as well, just as a reminder, refresher from kind of my point of view and my experience. And then hopefully we can spend a little bit of time kind of figuring out how you know if the plan that you're on is working for you. Okay, I'm going to go back and forth a little bit between the comments. So Healthy has now, let me see, I think 7 plans, one of them being the Healthy Fresh plan, which I'm not really going to go into detail today because the Healthy Fresh plan is only available to those participants on the Healthy Care plan, and it is specifically set up to work well with the GLP-1 medication. And the other plan that I'm not really going to go into detail or talk about is the Keeping Keto plan, just because I feel like it's a little bit more niche and not necessarily something that when you're wanting to be healthy and have sustainable weight loss that I personally would recommend. I have done Keeping Keto before because I have friends who swear by it, who love it, who see great results from it. But the one big thing that they talk about is that while they're on it, they were able to lose the weight, no issues. But then once they come off it, they really gain the weight back fairly quickly because it is a more restricted way of eating. And so, in the general context of sustainable healthy habits and learning healthy habits, I don't necessarily recommend that plan. This plan is really great if there is, a medical issue why you might be want to why you might want to be on it. So if you're talking to your doctor and that's something that your doctor recommends you give it a try, or your nutritionist recommends you give it a try, we have that available for you. But when it comes to, the average person's sustainability, I'm going to kind of focus on the other plans, which are Better Balance, Sugar Smart, Carb Conscious, Conquer Cravings, and Calorie Command. And I went ahead and created a little graphic for us to look at together. So I'm going to switch over to that. And hopefully you can all see that well enough. Actually, I might see if I can make myself a little bit. Actually, no, I think if I make myself smaller, it's going to cover part of my graphic. Okay, so here are our plans. And what I've done is on the left, I put in the different macros that plans might look at. And then on the right, I kind of went over which ones of these the different plans take into consideration. So we're going to start at the right. As you can see, Calorie Command is the most straightforward plan since it really only takes one thing into consideration, and that is your calories. So this plan is super straightforward, super easy. I think it's great on the go. It's the plan that I'm currently on because you can just look at a package and know exactly how many calories something has. I'm kind of looking around to see if I have anything around me that I could show as an example. But I think you've all kind of, looked at the packaging of a food in the back, seeing the calories, and you immediately know where you're at. And if you know that, you have 1,500 calories per day or what have you, usually it's a little bit more, you know exactly whether the item that you're holding in your hand is going to easily fit into that or not. But it's a lot higher numbers, and sometimes it can get really tricky because it goes into the nitty gritty. So something small like a drink package might add 5 calories, and it's really easy for you to overlook that. So the calorie command plan can be kind of difficult in that regard. It also, if you look a little bit further down, it doesn't have any weekly bites set aside for you. It doesn't have any zero bites set aside for you. And that can make it really, really hard in your lifestyle because it might feel a little bit more constrained. You have to hit this exact number every single day. There's no wiggle room. If you're hungry and you're out of calories, you're kind of, what am I going to do? So there's some pros to this plan and some cons, like with all of the plans. Then the next one is carb conscious, which is based off of fat, fiber, protein, and carbs. In its equation, fat, protein, and carbs drive the bites value up, and fiber kind of lowers the bites value. It's a little bit more of a difficult calculation for this plan as well, but it does have weekly bites, it does have zero bites, and it does include some zero bite fruits. Then for conquer cravings, calories again are going to be your base, and fat can drive the bites up and fiber can drive it down. This plan is also one that a lot of people feel like they can just look at the calories and have an idea of how many bites it might be. So that can be really helpful when you're like out and about. It does have weekly bites, so it gives you a little bit more flexibility if you're somebody who tends to eat a little bit more on the weekends or who likes to go out on Friday evenings or what have you. And then it does not have any zero bite fruits though, but it does have zero bite vegetables. So there's always something that you can still munch on even if you're out of your bites. And then Sugar Smart and Better Balance are our most recent, most up-to-date plans that include the most amount of information. So it's not something where you can just look at the macros and kind of like guesstimate how many bites something is going to have. They're both based in calories, but then a higher amount of protein is going to drive the bite value down, whereas sugar and saturated fat is going to drive it up. Both of these plans have weekly bites, zero bites, and zero bite fruits. They're very similar in their approach. And really, the main difference between these two is that Better Balance has a more extensive zero bite food list. So a lot of high protein foods are going to be zero on the Better Balance plan. Think your non-fat Greek yogurt, your chicken breast, your eggs. So lots of like really good foods that can really fill you up. And that can be a pro and a con in and of itself. It gives you a lot of flexibility to have all of these zero bite foods. But if you're somebody who is still struggling with really listening to your body and understanding when you're full, how much to eat, then having all of these zero bite foods can be really, really tricky for you because you can make a really delicious Greek yogurt and, eat way too much of it and inadvertently kind of overconsume. On the flip side, you can also underconsume. A lot of people, especially when they're starting out, they find Better Balance really intriguing because it has this big zero bite food list. But then they don't really pay attention to that list and don't fully utilize it, which means at the end of the day, if you don't use enough of your zero bite foods, you might actually be undereating. So if you look at the zero bite food list of Better Balance and those foods aren't necessarily things that you enjoy eating, you might be wasting bites because the way it works with zero bite foods is that a portion of calories is set aside, or a portion of calories / bites is set aside for you to consume those foods, because as we all know, they're not actually 0 calories. They still have calories and they still count towards your overall calorie goal. But to make it a little bit easier in your lifestyle, a portion of those calories, those bites, are set aside for you to have that flexibility, have those 0 bite foods. But if you take this chunk away and then you don't really use it, you can run into issues with under eating. And that's why, if you are on Better Balance and you feel like you're not really losing or you're running out of your bites really, really quickly, I encourage you to turn on your secondary metrics, the calories, and track everything, including the 0 bite foods, and see if you might be under eating. On Better Balance, when you look at creating a meal, you should always start with one of those 0 bite foods. Like that should be the center of your meal. And then you add other ingredients that add bites to your meal. But at the center of every one of your meals, there should be one of your 0 bite foods. And that's why it's so important for you to look at that 0 bite list and make sure that those are actually things that you enjoy eating. Because if you don't, going to the Sugar Smart plan might be better for your lifestyle. And this is really what our Meeting Our Life today is all about, making these plans work for your life and your lifestyle. You can lose weight with any of these plans. You can work the plan and lose the weight. But if the plan that you choose doesn't align with your lifestyle, you're going to lose motivation. It's going to be harder than is necessary, and it's going to be even harder to sustain it in the long run. Because remember, our goal in this journey is to create healthy habits, create good relationships with food and ourselves, and not just kind of run towards our goal line, our goal weight. Because to be able to continue keeping the weight off, we are going to have to continue living this lifestyle. Maybe not in as much of a regimented way of having to track everything and weigh out everything, but still eating in a similar way. So if you force yourself to eat Greek yogurt every day, to eat chicken every day because it's 0 bites on Better Balance, but then the moment you have reached your goal weight, you stop eating Greek yogurt and you stop eating chicken breast, and now you're eating completely different foods with completely different macros, chances are you're going to gain the weight again, because you haven't really built those healthy habits that are sustainable for you. And you're going to get sick of Greek yogurt and chicken breast. And that's another important thing to think about. I think every about 8 months to a year, if you're on a longer journey, you should reevaluate whether the plan that you are on is still serving you. So either every 8 months to a year, or if something significantly changes in your life, you should go back and figure out if the plan that you're on still serves you. For example, I used to be on Better Balance. And then I realized that I was actually consuming a lot of like more convenience foods that were still fairly low in calories, but fairly high in bites. And I realized that really didn't work all that well for me. And after I had my daughter and I had more time, and now I'm working from home and I can make more stuff from scratch and I utilize less of these convenience foods, now Better Balance might be a better fit for my life. So if anything significantly changes in your lifestyle, it's time to reevaluate whether the plan that you're on is still the best one for you. So here are some questions that I would recommend you kind of ask yourself to figure out whether the plan that you are on right now is still working for you. I'm going to switch it to just my face here. Okay, so the first thing is kind of the progress bucket, looking for in both scales, measurements, and energy levels. If you don't see continuous progress, you might have gotten into a rut with your plan. It is super easy for us to kind of get complacent in our lifestyle. We get to a point where we're like, I don't know. I know what a cup of yogurt looks like. I don't need to measure it anymore. I'm just going to, put some yogurt in my bowl and call it a day because I've, tracked a cup of yogurt every single day for the last 6 months. And so I know what a cup of yogurt looks like. 3 months later, you probably don't know anymore what a cup of yogurt looks like. The first one, two, three, whatever times it might work, but over time, it's going to creep up and you're not going to be as accurate anymore. Another thing with your nutrition, if you get into a rut with your nutrition and with your plan, you eat the same things over and over and over again, your body doesn't get a wide variety of nutrients anymore that it needs to be at its best. And you might notice that in your energy levels. So you might not be as energized anymore. You might still be losing the weight because you might still be in a calorie deficit, but maybe your energy isn't quite as high as it was at the beginning because you're inadvertently leaving out some of those vitamins and nutrients by eating the same thing over and over again. And Joy said it is important to remember that this is a lifestyle and not a diet. We need to make sure to incorporate a variety of foods, but in moderation. That way, your body doesn't plateau by eating the same foods every day. Yeah, and that's exactly what this is about. And sometimes changing your plan will kickstart that for you. If you're somebody that's like, but I really love what I'm eating and it's working for me and I don't know what else to eat, changing your plan will make you get more in tune with your body, get better about, measuring and weighing what you're eating, and will make you try out new foods and new meals. It will kind of like re-energize you, give you that honeymoon phase of dieting back because you have to relearn the plan. You have to relearn how many bites different foods are. You will figure out that something that you ate on one plan might be a lot more bites than you want to spend for a breakfast. And so you have to come up with something else. And maybe you used to not eat scrambled eggs in the morning or your favorite omelet because on carb conscious, it was a lot more bites than you wanted to spend. But now you're on better balance and eggs are 0 bites. And it's actually the perfect breakfast for you to have. So changing your plans can be a really great way to bring some like new variety, new spice into your life, get that energy back, get that motivation and excitement back about your journey, that kind of like part of the learning. Another thing to think about is whether you feel satisfied with what you're eating. Do you feel hungry at the end of the day, or do you feel satisfied and nourished? If you feel deprived, your plan is probably not working for you. Similar to that, if it doesn't work for you on the weekends and your plan only works for you from Monday through Friday, but then on the weekends it doesn't work for you, it's probably not the right plan for you. And you might want to look into a plan with more flexibility, with more 0 bite foods, with some rollover bites that you can save up more for the weekend. In addition to, some of these other strategies to keep on track over the weekend. But overall, it should be something that is sustainable. Okay, Crystal is asking how much protein is too much. She was told that she's eating too much protein, and that is what has possibly caused her kidney stones. That is an excellent question. Yes, Joy, you are right. When it comes to protein, you can consume too much protein, especially if you're somebody who already has kidney issues, because your kidneys are responsible for the breakdown process of the protein. So in your situation, I would actually recommend talking to your doctor if your doctor has a recommended amount of protein that you should stick to in your plan. And then, you can go into your app and modify those macros on your app to help you stick to those goals. I know in diet culture, we're all very much like, yay, protein, it's amazing. Eat a ton of protein, add some protein powder to everything. And it has given us this belief that protein is somehow this like magical cure all and can't do any wrong. But just like with everything else in the world, too much of a good thing is still too much. And if your body can't process the protein properly or in the right way, then having too much protein can be an issue. And in that case, you might want to look into one of the other plants. If we go back to our overview here, for example, looking into the carb conscious plan where protein actually, raises the bite value might be a better switch for you in your situation where you are consuming an amount of protein that could be causing you a physical harm. Even though on the opposite hand, on like Better Balance, we're all about protein and eating as much protein as possible. Another thing to consider when we're talking about protein is also that sometimes our bodies are better about metabolizing natural protein than added protein. So, protein from a Greek yogurt or a chicken breast might not have as much of an impact for you as a protein that is coming from a protein powder, for example. So, that's another thing to kind of think about when you are consuming those. Okay, I was just checking the Instagram comments real quick. Joy said Mountain Dew can also cause kidney stones. Yep, there are certainly other things that can cause kidney stones. And that's why it's so important to always be in conversation with your doctor and talk to your doctor about what you should prioritize, what you should be careful of in your nutrition, and then find the plan that is best for that. I know we also often get asked about diabetics and which plan to be on if you are struggling with insulin resistance. And in that case, carb conscious that kind of reduces those simple carbs can be a really great option. So can be Sugar Smart and Better Balance that put more of an emphasis on higher protein values, for example. Because I know that question is probably something that somebody is thinking about at some point here. Okay, so your plan should be working for you all throughout the week. If your plan only works for you Monday through Friday, and then on the weekend it doesn't work for you anymore, it's likely not the right plan for you. And you might want to look into why is it not working for you on the weekend, and then see if there's another plan that might allow you more flexibility for the weekend. Another thing is that you're still, I was just talking about, still feel motivated by your plan and it doesn't feel like a chore. If you are kind of fed up with your plan, it might also be time to like get some change in there and try something new. And then also long-term outlook. Think about, after you've lost the weight, is this still a way that you want to eat once you have lost all of this weight? Is this going to be sustainable for you for the rest of your life? Keep in mind, this is not just something that you're enduring. This is something you need to thrive on. If you are just enduring eating this way, that's how I was with keeping keto. When I tried keeping keto, I was just enduring. I was just trying to make it through this time frame that I had set myself to give it a try. And I was miserable. I was hungry all the time. My stomach was upset. I had no energy. And I was like, I'm just going to give it a try for 2 months and then I can be done with it. And of course, that plan didn't work for me because the way that I ate on that plan was not sustainable for me. Wasn't the foods that I enjoy eating and wasn't something that I knew would be sustainable for me for years to come. So if you feel similarly about the plan that you're currently on, then might be time to switch plans. Similarly, if you are getting closer to the maintenance phase, I also often recommend people switch plans to something with more zero bites. And my personal opinion, and this is just me, most people don't want to have to count bites for the rest of their life. I know I didn't want to. Lots of people that I talk to don't want to. And if that is you, it makes sense that towards the end of your journey, you might think about switching to a plan like Better Balance that has a larger amount of zero bite foods. And then, slowly adding more to your list of zero bite foods and lowering the amount of bites that you give yourself. Because, when you go from Sugar Smart to Better Balance, you get less bites every day because more of those bites are put into your zero bite bucket. And you can use that same concept to kind of like wean yourself into making healthy choices that you don't necessarily have to track, and just tracking for some of those like splurges, the things that aren't the best for you. That 80/20 approach. 80% of the time you eat the things that are healthy for you, that make you feel good, that are what we think of as healthy food. And then 20% of the time you eat the food that is just delicious and that you just want because you want it. And that's okay, because again, we have to find the balance, and we have to find plans that work for us to give us that balance so that we can do that. Okay, let's look at the comments again. Crystal said she's diabetic with coronary artery disease and high blood pressure. Yep. So, maybe switching to, it was carb conscious, right? Might be the best way for you. Carb conscious and conquer cravings are the two that I, for some reason, always get mixed up with each other. I don't know. Maybe it's because they both have like CCs in their names, but yeah. Linda says she loves being able to have a variety of foods. And I think that's incredibly important, that, it's still fun for you. If you feel like you're in a rut, but your plan is still working for you, maybe give yourself a challenge of trying a new recipe like once a week or something like that, to still keep it interesting. In my meetings, I've talked about it before. When I hit a plateau and I tried all kinds of different things, I kind of like went on to this little hippy dippy trip of learning how to make all foods from scratch. So I can make bread from scratch. I can make pasta from scratch. I can make jam from scratch. I can do all of this. Do I still do it? No, I don't have the time for that. But it was fun to experiment with those things for a while. Similarly, if you feel like you're in a rut, but the plan still works for you, try new recipes, try new foods that you've never tried before. And this journey has, and meal delivery plans has exposed me and my husband to foods that we never really ate before, or that we thought we didn't enjoy. I always thought I didn't like Brussels sprouts, and then HelloFresh had roasted Brussels sprouts with balsamic over it, and oh my gosh, it's now one of my favorite things. My husband had never had couscous before. I made couscous, and now we have couscous once a week because we love it. You won't know what you like until you give it a try. And this is a great time to try new things that fit into your plan, to expand your horizon. Joy said her daughter used to drink Mountain Dew by the gallons in high school and ended up with kidney stones. The doctor said stay away from Mountain Dew. She still suffers from periodic flare-ups. One stone is still in her system. Oh, wow. Barbara says she's currently on Mounjaro for her type 2 diabetes. She's currently on Conquer Cravings, and she's changing to Carb Conscious tomorrow to see if it will help her manage her blood sugar better. Fingers crossed. I hope it works for you. One of the things that I didn't really like highlight in this comparison chart is all the way here at the bottom. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but I put in here a little focus. So for better balance, the focus is really on whole foods and flexibility. So both Better Balance and Sugar Smart, I feel like really have a focus on whole foods and on you cooking. In my personal experience, if you're somebody, like I was mentioning earlier, that tends to gravitate a little bit more to convenience foods. And when I say convenience foods, I'm thinking of like, a pre-made yogurt with some mix-ins like the Chobani Flips. They're my favorite, but they're so high in bites on Sugar Smart and Better Balance. When a plain Greek yogurt would be 0 bites. It never made any sense to me. But it's really because these plans kind of try to get you to eat more protein and less of those like saturated fats and sugars that are in a lot of the convenience foods. And so if you're somebody that likes grabbing something on the go, those plans might make it a little bit harder for you to stay on track. If you're somebody who enjoys cooking, then those plans might be the right thing for you to do. Conquer Cravings is really good if you're struggling with portion control. And Carb Conscious is really good if you are trying to reduce those simple carbs. And that's, as you all know, or as you may know, if you're diabetic, you definitely know those simple carbs are really a struggle when you have insulin resistance. You want those complex carbs that break down over a longer period of time so your body isn't suddenly flooded with a high amount of sugar. When I was a nurse, I always thought of insulin as the key that like opens the door to like a store. And the key is a little like janky, and like it's a little bit harder to like open the door. And if you have a massive group of people like trying to get in and you're trying to like unlock a bunch of little doors with like a janky key, it's becoming a problem. But if you only have like 5 people showing up every couple of minutes, you have time to like use your janky key to kind of like try to open those doors. So that's kind of like how I think about complex carbs and simple carbs in terms of insulin resistance, because insulin is used to open your cells for sugar to be able to get into your organs and your cells. Okay, I'm not going to go like too far down that rabbit hole because we're actually over time. I've already talked for like half an hour. Radina said she has to track, otherwise she doesn't do well. Let's see, what did I miss? I feel like I missed something, but I don't see it. But yeah, I definitely think tracking in some way or shape is important on this journey. Okay, thank you everybody so much for staying with me today. I hope you have found it helpful to kind of look at the different plans and think about your lifestyle in relationship to the plan, what does work and what doesn't work. If you want to know more about the different plans, what kind of macros push something up or down, go to our Healthy App website. And under the little app toggle, you can go to find your plan. There's a quiz there. But if you scroll down further on this page, so this is where the quiz is located. But if you go down further, there are deep dives into all of the plans. So if you go to Better Balance and you click Learn More, you can then learn a lot more about Better Balance, who it's best for, what to kind of think about, food recommendations, even a beginner plan. If you don't want to read it all on the website, you can even download it as a PDF up here. So just leaving that for you if you want to dive a little bit deeper into those plans or have any specific questions about those plans. With that, I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great rest of the week, and I will see you all soon.